you don't feel all these interior operations. They therefore cannot be the sensation of ego. When your eyes are functioning well, you don't see your eyes. If your eyes are imperfect, you see spots in front. That means there's some lesions in the retina or wherever it may be. And because your eyes aren't working properly, you feel them. So in the same way, you don't hear your ears. If you have singing in your ears, it means there's something wrong with your ears. So therefore, if you do feel yourself, there must be something wrong with you. And whatever you have the sensation of I is like spots in front of the eyes. It means something's wrong with your functioning. That's why you feel you're there. Why you feel you as being different from and somehow cut off from all that you really are, which is everything you're experiencing. The real you is the totality of everything you're aware of and a great deal more besides. But what is this thing that we feel in ourselves? And we say, that is the concrete material me. Well, I'll tell you what it is. When you were a little child in school, you remember? You were picking your nose and looking out of the window or flicking spitballs or something. Suddenly the teacher rapped the desk and said, "Pay attention!" Wowee. Now, how did you do that? Well, you stared at the teacher and you put a frown on your face, because that's how it looks like to pay attention. And when the teacher sees all the pupils in the class staring at her or him and frowning, then the teacher is consoled and feels that the class is paying attention. That this class is doing nothing of the kind. The class is pretending to pay attention. Right, so you're reading a book. There's some difficult book you have to read because it's required. And you're bored to death with it. And you think, well, I really have got to concentrate on this book. And so you sort of glare at it. And you try to force your mind to follow its argument. And then you discover you're not really reading the book. You're thinking about how you ought to read it. What do you do if I say to you, now look, take a hard look at me. Would you please take a hard look at me? See, take a real hard look. Now what are you doing? What's the difference between a hard look and a soft look? Why? With your hard look, you are straining muscles around your eyes. You're starting to stare. Now if you stare at a distant image, like a clock far away from you, you make the image fuzzy. If you want to see the clock clearly, you must close your eye, imagine black for a while, and then lazily and easily open them. And you'll see the image. The light will come to you. And what do you do if I say, now listen carefully. Listen very carefully to what I'm saying. You'll find you're beginning to strain yourself around your ears. Golly, I remember in school, I had a boy who couldn't read sat next to me. And he wanted to convince the teacher that he really was trying to read. So he would say, run, start, run. No, and he was using all his muscles. Well, what have they got to do with reading? What is straining your muscles here to hear, straining your muscles here to see? What's that got to do with seeing? Nothing. All right, supposing somebody says, okay, now, you've got to use your will. You've got to exercise strong will. That's the ego, isn't it? What do you do when you exercise your will? Or they say, grit your teeth, clench your fists. See? So you grit your teeth, you clench your fists, or if you want to stop wayward emotions, you go uptight. You pull your stomach in, or hold your breath, or contract your rectal muscles. Like this. But all those activities have absolutely nothing to do with the efficient functioning of your nervous system. Just as staring at images makes them fuzzy, listening hard, all this muscular tension around here distracts you from what you're actually hearing. Gritting your teeth has nothing to do with courage. All this is a total distraction, and yet we do it all the time, and therefore we have a chronic sensation of muscular strain, the object of which is an attempt to make our nervous system, our brains, our sensitivity function properly, and it doesn't work. It's like, taking off in a jet plane. You've gone zooming down the runway, and you think this plane has gone too far down the runway and it isn't up in the air yet. So you start pulling at your seat belts to help the thing up. But it doesn't have any effect. And so in exactly the same way, all these muscular strains we do, and have been taught to do all our lives long, so that we look as if we're paying attention, we look as if we're trying. All this is futile. But the chronic sensation of strain is the sensation to which we are referring as I. So our ego is what have you? An illusion married to a futility. It's the image of ourselves, which is incorrect, false, and only a caricature, married to, combined with, a futile muscular effort to will to be effective. So, what do we do about that? I mean, wouldn't it be much better if we had a sensation of ourselves that was in accord with the facts? And as I tried to explain in the beginning, the facts, the reality of our existence, is that we are both the natural environment, which ultimately is the whole universe, and the organism playing together. Why don't we feel that way? Why? Obviously because this other feeling gets in the way of it. This socially induced feeling, which comes about as a result of a kind of hypnotism exercised upon us throughout the whole educational process, has given us a hallucinatory feeling of who we are, and therefore we act like madmen. We don't respect our environment, we destroy it. But exploiting and destroying your environment, polluting the water and the air and everything, is just like destroying your own body. The environment is your body. But we act in this crazy way because we've got a crazy conception of who we are. We are raving mad. Well, you say to me then, all right, how do I get rid of it? And my answer to that is that's the wrong question. How does what get rid of it? You can't get rid of your hallucination of being an ego by an activity of the ego. Sorry, but it can't be done. You can't lift yourself up by your own bootstraps. You can't put out fire with fire. And if you try to get rid of your ego with your ego, you'll just get into a vicious circle. You'll be like, say, worry. And then worries because they worry. And you'll go round and round and get crazier than ever. The first thing to understand, when you say, what can I do about getting rid of this false ego, is the first answer is nothing. Because you're asking the wrong question. You're asking, how can I, thinking of myself as an ego, get rid of thinking of myself as an ego? Well, obviously you can't. Now we would say, well, then it's hopeless. No, now wait a minute. Don't go so fast. It isn't hopeless. You haven't got the message, that's all. If you find out that your ego feeling, your will, and all that jazz, cannot get rid of that hallucination, you found out something very important. Because in finding out that you can't do anything about it, what you have found out is that you don't exist. That is to say, you as ego, you don't exist. So obviously you can't do anything about it. So you find you can't control, not really, your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, all the processes going on inside you and outside you that are happening. There's nothing you can do about it. So then what follows? Well, there's only one thing that follows. You watch what's going on. You see, feel this whole thing happening, and then suddenly you find, to your amazement, that you can perfectly well get up, walk over to the table, pick up a glass of milk and drink it. There's nothing standing in your way for doing that. You can still act, you can still move, you can still go on in a rational way. But you've suddenly discovered that you're not what you thought you were. You're not this ego pushing and shoving things inside a bag of skin. You feel yourself now in a new way, as the whole world, which includes your body, everything that you experience, is going wrong. It's intelligent. Trust it.
You